everyone, it's Val, and welcome to what is SRP, Skyrim Edition. And for those of you who don't know, SRP stands for Serious Roleplay. Before we get too far into this, I want to take a moment and define a few terms, both in what they're generally understood as, or at least for the first four, what they're generally understood as, and what they mean in reference, in particular, to my stream. Let's start with SRP and LRP. I use SRP to mark streams in which I am doing serious roleplay. I am playing a character. I will be staying in character except when I'm in a save screen or a screen like that. And you can tell those streams because, unless I've forgotten, in the upper left-hand corner here there should be an SRP tag indicating that this is an SRP stream. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. What this means for you is that if you see that tag, that means that you are also encouraged to roleplay, and you will be roleplaying a spirit of some description. And that's what the rest of this video about, is explaining what SRP is and what it is like in reference to my stream. So I'm not going to go into that too far, because I'm probably going to repeat myself. I'll just say that you are encouraged to roleplay, and watch the rest of the video so you can get the full details. Okay, LRP, light roleplay. I do a lot of series that are light roleplay, and you can tell which series those are because I won't have the SRP thing up in the corner here. In general, when it's possible in the world or the game that I'm playing, I will treat it as a real world, like in terms of the character that I'm playing. So for example, when I've done Minecraft streams, my character, although I speak out of character quite often, I talk to you about real world things, and my character knows about real world things. This character also treats the world they're in as if it were real. So she wouldn't do things that were like, psychopathic, that sort of thing, unless that happens to be what I was going for that particular character. It just depends, but basically there's a mix of real life and in-game in a nice light roleplay mix. At least that's the intent. OOC, that stands for out of character. That is used quite often, and that is in fact what I would like you to put in front of your comments if you are in a serious roleplay live stream, watching it that is, and you do not wish to roleplay, or you have out of character questions that your character isn't asking, but you, the person playing the character, is asking. And of course, conversely, IC means in character. You don't have to put IC in front of what your character is saying. It's assumed in an SRP live stream that anything you don't put OC in front of is in fact in character, and will be interpreted that way. Now, these last two are special terms that I use for my live streams. They don't come from anywhere else. They're ones that I came up with. Because you are playing a spirit of some type, the vast majority of chat is going to be what is called an advisor. And that means you're a regular spirit. You don't have any special knowledge or any special advancements in your knowledge as you grow over the various lifetimes. You're just basically a regular Joe. However, I do have special guide or special character roles in my live streams, and they are called guides. Guides are permitted a little more leeway than advisors are. Guides can have more complex characters that can have special knowledge or special backgrounds that I basically forbid regular advisors from having, partially because, well, okay, I better stop myself because I do explain it in the rest of the videos. I won't get into it. I'll just say that a guide is also a perk. The ability to have a character that is a guide is a perk that is provided to patrons who are supporting me at the higher pledge levels. So if you are really into role-playing and you would like to be a guide, you would like to have special... I will make requests of guides. I'll ask them to do certain things, to nudge my character in a certain direction or cause them to reflect on certain things. And as a guide, my character knows that you are a more, I don't like using the term advanced, but you're a spirit that's further along the continuum than the regular run-of-the-mill advisor spirits. So when you say something, she is going to listen to it with more attention than everybody else. So it's a special row, it's a perk. I wanted to do something special for my patrons, and that's what guides are. Right, okay. Now that we've defined some terms, let's get into the rest of the video, in which I flesh out what this all means and go over the general guidelines on my website. Right, so the first thing you'll want to do is check out my Vals NoisyToys.tk website and go to the SRP section. This will always have my latest general guidelines, as well as a link to the current series that I am playing as a serious roleplay series on my live streams. I will go through all of these on here, so don't worry about that, but this will be a place that you can quickly and easily go back and check and see if there's been any updates. If you look at the very bottom, it'll say when it's been last updated, and then you'll know if there's been any changes. It's probably also a good idea just to refresh your memory from time to time. Right, well, let's get started, shall we? General guidelines. If you don't wish to roleplay, please put OOC without the quotes in front of your comments to make it easier on myself and others who are roleplaying. It just makes it a lot easier when I glance over to chat. If I see OOC in front of a comment, I'll make a mental note of, well, I don't have to read it, but when I go to my save screen, I should go back and respond to that particular comment. It just makes things flow a little bit better for myself, and I'm sure for the other people in chat as well. If you do wish to roleplay, please follow the guidelines that I will be discussing here. And also, to help my memory and chats, occasionally put your character's name at the start of what your character is saying. If you have a different name for them than your viewer handle, for example, if you had a character named Josie, Josie : hey, Zajira, Josie is back to visit ya. Don't be afraid to ask questions via OOC if you're unclear about something. Either I or one of the other more veteran people in chat will be happy to answer your question. Right, so character guidelines. I know it looks rather imposing, and I just want to say a little bit before I start going through it. The reason that I have so many guidelines is not because I'm a control freak. Well, maybe I'm a little bit of one, but that's not why there's so many guidelines. Basically, these guidelines have been developed to head off some of the more common missteps that people new to roleplay tend to make. And I have been there myself. I know what it's like, but I'm also a veteran of role-playing in many different forms. So basically, this is to help you choose an appropriate character and slide right into role-playing a lot easier. Right, okay, character guidelines. You have one character. Changing to a new one is allowed in moderation, but try to only do that if necessary. For example, let's say the first character you came up with, you're not enjoying playing them. You can retire that, and now that you've had a little bit of experience, come up, with a better one, the one that suits what you want to do better. And I have no problem with that. I do, however, have a problem if every 5 minutes you're a new character. Yeah, my memory's not that good, sorry. Neither is Zajira's by extension. Your character in chat is a spirit advisor who can do the following things: interact with the other characters in chat as well as with mine, of course. Provide general advice, for example, watch out for frostbite, you've been outside for a while. You can advise my character when she needs and asks for direct advice. In other words, this is directly directed at no spoilers, no backseat gaming. You're watching her live her life. And as a spirit advisor, you are participating in the story, but you're not there. Your purpose is not to tell her to go from A to B to C to D. If that makes sense. Of course, your spirit advisor plays a part in the unfolding story, and of course, you must have fun and chat. Alright, if your character is from the game world, they're dead. Sorry, you're a spirit advisor. The word spirit kind of implies that you're not currently living. If your character is dead, their death predates the start of the current game timeline. That is to make it a lot easier for you to avoid spoilers. If your character is alive, and there is an exception, you don't have to be dead, but if your character is alive, they are from another planet or another reality, using some reasonable means to speak to and watch through the eyes of a medium. So, for example, you could be from planet Zog, and you're, using a technobauble attached to your brain that lets you act as if you were a medium looking through other people's eyes and talk to them. That's fine. You could be somebody on a backwater planet who has psychic abilities, and they're looking in their wonderful fortune teller crystal, and that's how they're communicating and watching what Zajir is doing. That's fine too. You could be a plant, looking at a puddle and using psychic abilities. Like, there's lots of things you can do that has somebody that's alive, but I am restricting that if your character is from the game world, they are currently dead. It just makes things a lot easier for everybody. Your character does not have these things I'm about to list. Your character does not have a special background before or after death. This is reserved for guides. You will want to see my Patreon for more information. Your character does not have access to special resources and or people. This is also reserved for guides. You'll also, see my Patreon for more information. Your character does not have special knowledge of any in-lore game secrets or the quest line. Again, this is to avoid the temptation to provide spoilers. Your character does not have access to information that post-dates the start of the game timeline that hasn't been learned via this Serious Roleplay livestream. Basically, what I'm getting at there is that you would not have any information about the game events unless Zajira has already lived through them. If you are unsure if she has done or been somewhere, I would ask an OC, say has Zajira been to this place, or has Zajira done this quest? That's fine. Just do not do spoilers. Now, in reference to Skyrim in particular, I have played through Skyrim several times. It has been a few years, so I have forgotten a lot, but I still remember the broad outlines of the whole game. However, it does allow me, even at the time that I started doing Zajira's travels 4 years ago, it gave me the ability to step back and allow her to be surprised at the events that are unfolding. So please don't assume that I'm a new person playing Skyrim, because I'm not. I have, at this point, well over 1,000 to 1,200 hours in Skyrim. I don't know the precise number, but I have played a lot, so please bear that in mind. Alright, so on to the next section. Your character isn't the spirit of any named lore characters from the game world. So, for example, you are... I'll give actually more detailed examples below. Let's just continue on going through the general guidelines without referring specifically to Skyrim at this point. Your character is not personally well acquainted with any of them, any named lore characters from the game world, whether those named lore characters are currently alive or dead. Your character didn't meet my character in the flesh, nor are they related, although they could have been the same race and heritage. So in the case going to Skyrim here, Zajira, you could be a Khajiit, from even the same town that she grew up in, but you just never happened to meet her, or any of, and again, it still leaves what you can do and what you can be very open. And this is just to help. These guidelines are to help you choose a character that is going to fit into the role play and into the story without conflict. And as I said earlier, to help you design a character that is more interesting. And actually, I'm going to do a little segue here before I go into the rest of this here. In my experience, people who are new to roleplay have a tendency to do several things. And I've actually written a number of, not articles, but forum posts on this subject. But one of the things that people who are new to roleplay tend to do is they choose a character that's overly powerful, has no weaknesses, and can do just about anything, and has tons of knowledge about things that they really shouldn't. And while it's cool to play a powerful character, it's a heck of a lot more cool to have a character who didn't start with any of those things, and to live through their life, through their experiences as they gain knowledge and gain power and grow. So, speaking from long experience, an overly powerful character who knows everything is boring. Because where's the conflict? Where's the challenge? Where's the interest? If you can already do everything and you know everything. And that's why another reason why I have the restrictions I have here about what your character can know. It's not just spoilers. It's because if your character knows every single thing in the world, then really, why are they bothering to follow Zajira if they're not going to be learning things with her and being, surprised or interested in or disagreeing with choices that she makes? If you already know everything, that's kind of boring, in my opinion, anyway. All right, let's get back to the guidelines. Actually, this stuff here I don't really need to read. You can always pause the video and read them. They're not directly related to the guidelines that I'm going over here. Right, so aside from the things that I've mentioned, related to Skyrim as I've gone through here, the more specific Tamriel origin information that you need to know to create a chat character spirit advisor for my Skyrim Zajira's Travel series. These following things are not acceptable if you are creating a character that was originated from Tamriel. No matter where your character comes from or when, they are not high-ranking, lore-important people, including liches, dragons, Aedra, Daedra, or gods, etc. And all of that comes back to what I just talked about. A powerful character who knows everything is boring. And in the context of gameplay, it also means that you're a lot less tempted to start telling Zajira where she needs to go and what she needs to do, and, I already know all these things that you're just learning, kind of thing. Tamriel origins. Acceptable recent Tamriel dead. So this is an exception to the rule that I listed up here that said that your character had to predate, their death predates the start of the current timeline. In Tamriel, the only exception to that is if your character is somebody who's died in the recent conflict, and by recent I mean they've been dead for at least a year, but they could have, died in conflicts between the Stormcloak and Imperial soldiers, but with the Thalmor. But if you are one of this type of characters who was a soldier or maybe a farmer that got caught in the crossfire, or a townsfolk, you were a rank and file. You didn't know secret plans of the generals. You're just a soldier, maybe a sergeant out there, maybe running a camp, but again, you have no special knowledge, and that's to limit the temptation for spoilers and backseat gaming. Alright, so if you are or your character is, not you personally, if your character is a recently dead person, i.e. They have to have been dead for at least a year from Tamriel. You could have minor information about the current game world, such as where your faction's camp was, and other minor things, as long as it doesn't include quest spoilers. So that's a little bit more tricky of a line to go, but I can see that it would be quite reasonable for a soldier who died in battle to know that, well, we were based, just outside Wilhelm in this valley over here. I mean, that makes sense. Maybe that camp isn't there anymore, or maybe it still is. I don't know. Zajir doesn't know. But if she's passing near it, you might say, hey, you're near where I died, or that sort of thing is fine too. Anyway, just checking my list of things I wanted to talk about here. So, sort of the too long didn't watch version of all of this is sort of a recap. If you want the latest general guidelines, please go to my Vals NoisyToys.tk website and go to the SRP tab, and they will be there, and you can easily check if they have been updated by just scrolling to the bottom and seeing what the last update date is. And the gist of a lot of this here is characters are more interesting if they're not all-powerful. Your character does not have access to any special knowledge. No game spoilers in that regard. No quest spoilers. Don't backseat game. You're there to build a story. Your character's there to build a story with Sajira. But your character's role, basic role, is as an advisor. And historically, and in this instance as well, advisors are there to give advice when asked, not to tell her what to do. Lead her, or as she likes to put it, lead her around by her nose. Alright guys, I hope you found this SRP guidelines video interesting. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. And if you aren't already following the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch or on Mixer, and check out my channel, check out my past live streams, and of course, I'd love to see you in the stream sometime. Y'all take care now. Bye.
She'd like to sleep, maneuvers together.